Hey again, it's me again. Anyway, so last time we were looking at variables and different data types, so strings, ints, floats, and booleans. So we're going to build on that. We're going to look at how we can get input from a user and basically assign that input to variables as well. Once again, what does that all mean? Well, let's just dive in and find out. So, if we wanted to change our monster name, we wanted to give a user of our computer program the ability to change the monster's name. It didn't like Jim Bob, okay? They just don't like Jim Bob, so they're going to get rid of it. So, how do they do that? So, we're going to use something called input, all right, to do that. So, what we do is we get the variable name, and it was equal to Jim Bob before, but now what we're going to do is we're going to say monster name is now equal to input. Okay, and then we can have a prompt, it's called, okay, so basically we can have a bit of text on the screen to say, okay, what would you like to call the monster now, all right, okay, and so that will allow them to basically type stuff in and it's going to assign it to this variable name as before. We'll see in a minute. And then we can then print out the new value of monster name. Okay, so let's run that. Let's see what happens. Here we go. So yeah, we had this This is coming up first. So Jim Bob does appear here. Print monster name. It was Jim Bob. And then what would you like to call the omster now? Okay, so I'm going to call it. Let's call it half head. Okay, and then half head will appear here. So what happened here was input allowed me to type some stuff in, and then whatever I typed in was then stored in the variable monster name as a string, and then I printed that string out, the monster name here, okay, and that's what this is here. All right, so that's basically what's going on. A couple of things I might want to change in the way I present my code here. If you saw when I ran it, let's just run it again. My cursor is like up here, which isn't very nice. And when I type, it's right next to this word now as well. So things you can do to change that. If we go in here, we can put a space. That makes a big difference. Or we can do a backslash, and this is actually inside the speech marks here, and then n. So backslash n, like this here. And it looks a bit weird, and it's inside the speech marks. But I'll show you what this does. Okay, see the cursor is now down here. So what it does, it just drops down a line. Okay, it gives us what we call a return. So now I can type in there Harvey. Okay, and then it would type in Harvey there. All right. So yeah, that's how we can get input and store it in our variable and then display it still. And we could do the same for a number of monsters as an example, equals input. Okay, and again, you know, how many monsters do you want now? Okay, and then I'm going to do my backslash and n. Okay, and then I'm going to print, and then the new number of monsters is, and then I could even, and then after this I can just do a plus, okay, and then I can put in there the number of monsters. All right, so what's this going to do? This variable number of monsters, well, it was 12. Well, now, okay, we're asking the question how many monsters you want. The input allows them to type something in and store it in this variable, so this gets a new value, and then we're going to print it out, and we're going to say the new number of monsters is, and it's going to then place our variable, the contents of our variable here. So let's run that again. What would you like to call your omster now? So let's go for Lucy. Okay, how many monsters do you want now? And let's do, I don't know, let's do 2,567. Okay, and there we go. So this is how we get input from a user, and then we can then store that input into variables. And it could be existing variables, or it can be a new variable. And what we'll look at next is how we can then also We could have a quiz where we could ask a user things like, how many legs does a spider have, and we can then check to see if they wrote 6, and they would get the question correct, and if they wrote something else, then they would not get the question correct. So we'll do that next. Okay, but in the meantime, just practice, play around with what I've done here. Practice is what you need to do, and if you do that, you'll get so much better. So take what you got here, see if you can play around, and yeah, enjoy. Okay, see you next time.